Cue the dog. Come here, Blue. Say hello to everybody. Say 3, 2, 1. Life, right? Real life. That's how it works in real life. If we could only get rid of cravings as easily as it is to be able to get rid of our little pet when we're trying to get work done. But life's not that simple. Okay. Hi, Barb McDermott here, and today's topic is that big C word, cravings. Yeah. You are here today watching this video, watching me talk about cravings, probably because cravings have gotten the better of you, or they're getting the better of someone you love, maybe a child or a spouse or a family member like a parent or someone you love, maybe just a friend. But cravings can unravel our health pursuit, right? Not only they'll unravel us physically, but they unravel us psychologically and emotionally as well. Okay, you know how this works. I grab my glasses, I get my little teacher note cards here, and let's dig into the topic of cravings. Do you have your pen or pencil and your scrap paper ready? Because you know this is interactive. You've got to be doing some stuff too. Okay, before we can really understand cravings and the science behind why they unravel us, let's start with an exercise. Just the concept of food alone. You know, food serves so many different roles in our society, right? Food and the roles that food plays in our lives. Can you think of any? Start writing them down. Just start jotting them down. I'll share some of the ideas that Shifter students have shared with me when we've had live discussions about this. One of the things that was the first thing that popped into someone's mind is that food can also often play the role of being a gift, right? We give gifts of food during the holidays or as thank yous, right? It's a very simple and very personal expression of thanks, perhaps. We can also use food. All of you teachers and parents out there, you know, we can use food as a reward. Oftentimes we can reward ourselves for, you know, I'm going to get through such and such project and reward myself. Or I'm going to use willpower all week and then on the weekend reward myself. There's food as a reward. We all know that we use food in celebrations of all kinds, right? We got your birthday parties, we got your graduations, we got religious milestones, all different kinds of ways to celebrate. A bon voyage party, a well done party, here's to the boss party, nurse's day, teacher's day, secretary's day, it goes on and on, right? We also use food now in today's world. We use food a lot to entertain, or entertainment. There's television shows galore about foods now. We're actually not only shopping for food, preparing food, consuming food, we're actually watching people do this now, right? Very entertaining. Of course, we know we use this word a lot when it comes to food, right? We can comfort ourselves or we can comfort one another when it comes to food. And we talked about that a little bit in our weight loss or inability to lose weight or weight woe video that we had done. And we'll continue to talk about that topic of why food can comfort us. But we do use it as a comforter, right? We can also, with reward, we can also use food as a punishment, to punish. How will we punish someone with food? Well, you go to bed without any supper, kiddo, right? Think about, I don't know if it happens so much in today's culture, it seems. Food is just so abundant and so accessible and readily available. Whereas, you know, when I was a kid, you sometimes heard friends say, hey, I missed supper last night. My dad was so cross at me. Okay? We can also use food to medicate. And when I say medicate, some people will use food as their medicine. Let food be thy medicine. That's a very stacked mantra to go by, because there really is no food out there that can solve a problem. It's actually, we unravel the problem by just not eating certain foods that are causing the problem. See, some people think that by drinking a green potion that somehow cured their cancer. Actually, it's the drinking the green potion, they weren't eating these things, and that was what was feeding the cancer. So we can inadvertently believe that a certain kind of food can medicate or solve a problem. But more times than not, it's what we chose not to eat that was actually fueling or causing the problem in the first place. So if someone's sick and we're creating some kind of organic medicinal chicken soup to solve the problem, I would beg to consider that perhaps what that person's not eating, not so much the soup solving, but what they're not eating, their body's able to solve it themselves because the food's not causing the problem in the first place. Woo! Okay, another food role is just identity, right? We can identify ourselves by what we eat, how we eat, our culture, our religion, our tribe, our philosophies, our ethics around food. So food can also serve to be an identifier. Anything else you can think of? Somebody had shared that food has a role in prayer or different religious or spiritual actions. We commune, right? We commune around food. We can even use the word love. Love. Food plays a role of love. I express my love by preparing this beautiful, from scratch supper for my family and my friends, right? An expression of love. It's also, I would say, an expression, or food can be used to express self, right? We can artistically and identify like what we believe food should be about. We can express ourselves in the way we prepare it, what we choose to prepare, how we serve it, what kind of dishes it's on, what kind of glasses we use, what kind of napkins, right? Food becomes a vehicle, a medium for self-expression. And the last one I have down here is it can become an art form, right? Food's role in society can be also considered art. Presentation, color, balance. I guess I know many chefs and restaurant owners understand this. The act of eating, it's full sensory, right? It's how we smell, it's what we taste, it's the interaction of flavors, it's the presentation around it. Is there a little flower on the side, right? All of these are, in today's world, roles that food plays. And if you thought of a few others and I didn't hear you, send me an email about it, right? That's how we shifters work. We're always interacting with one another. Okay, so the roles that food serves in society are wonderful things, but food can also have, and those are all positive connotations, right? That we label that as positive because they are a part of feel-good moments in our lives. But food, if you're here today for today's video and you're thinking about cravings, at one point in my life, for about 7 years, this was my 4-letter word. Instead of the other one, I would just use that. Because for me, and especially for my daughter who was diagnosed with a chronic disease where food was the crux of every consequence and feeling of lousy, it was, for me and her, and maybe for you if you're in craving mode, food can represent hurt. Food can actually hurt us. We know there are lousy foods out there that can hurt us, but there are also foods that the world will tell us are actually healthy for us that are actually not serving our best interests. So food can actually hurt. Food can also feel like perhaps a struggle. And therein, if you're here today, again, cravings, that's a struggle. That's a big struggle, right? I use this word. You know, we can fret around food. Sometimes mothers of newborns or little children, you can fret over, is that the right food? Is that enough food? Is that the right combination of food? Is that clean food? Is that real food? We can go on and on. A lot of people use this word around food. I control food. I can control food. We can also flip that and say food controls me, right? There's a lot of control when it comes to food. There can also be some arguing around food. We see this everywhere, right? There's no shortage of contrasting pieces of information, biased authors and individuals out there arguing over food, right? We should eat this way. We should eat this way. It should be Mediterranean. It should be Paleo. It should be vegetarian. It should be what's the fish one? Pescatarian or something. It should be vegan. It should be raw. It should be organic. It should be real. It goes on and on. Lots of arguments over food. And that leads us to what? Indecision over food. It's really hard to make a decision when there are so many contrasting pieces of information and evidence, right? And we have to be careful because a lot of the science that comes out there, when I say science, I should use that loosely, a lot of the information out there is often kind of biased. You know, a certain rose-colored glass will be presented over the facts because oftentimes there's a catalyst behind it. There's a food industry or a pharmaceutical or a person selling a pill, a powder, or a potion, and they're going to kind of tip the odds in their favor of you buying their product. And that creates a lot of indecision. That's exhaustion. I call that decision fatigue. It's a very real thing. My friend Craig, who's in the military, he talked about that in Afghanistan. Decision fatigue. So, in the military, there's less decision fatigue because you have plans. Everything's laid right out for you. That militaristic way of living can be very freeing, right? And you come back to regular civilian life and decision fatigue, right? Then we also have a lot of comparing going on when it comes to food, right? I'm watching the way she's eating or he's eating. I'm thinking about the way I'm eating. Is this the right way? Is this the wrong way? Is this the good way? Is this the bad way? A lot of comparison. Even fisticuffs, I like to call it. Even fisticuffs over food, right? There's a lot of food, literally food fights, right? Parents arguing with children, friends arguing with each other, celebrities jousting, a lot of fighting over food. And when you think about all these words, what does that mean? There's a lot of this. A lot of focus. Right? There's a lot of attention and focus on food. Well, let me leave these up here because right now I'd like to share with you the reason I'm even standing here in front of you is because in 2008, September of 2008, our daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And we had been up to that point. She was 16, her brother is 18, her younger sister is 14. We were not a food-focused family. We ate to live. We didn't live to eat. Food wasn't that special to us, okay? We enjoyed activity and life. And when you're diagnosed with a chronic situation, it doesn't have to be type 1 diabetes. It can be any chronic autoimmune situation or things like cancer, and which is a metabolic situation, heart disease, all these lousies, right? We are forced because of our circumstances. Well, we're not forced because of our circumstances. Our circumstances encourage us to become more focused on food. Because with type 1 diabetes, you literally have to know what you're eating, know the components of what you're eating, be focused on that, and then you have to dose a lethal hormone injection to balance out that food, okay? So you become very, very focused on food. And for 7 years, we watched our daughter carry the weight of all that extra work she had to do just to get through her day. The rest of the stuff of life, like worrying about where you're going to sit in the cafeteria and athletics and SATs and all the normal worries of being a teenager, that was secondary to actually having to decide on food, talk about decision fatigue every day, and then understand the consequences of those choices and have to deal with them over and over. The interesting thing is there's a long story in there, but about 5 years into that game, now she's in college, there was weight gain, about 30 pounds weight gain. But worse than the weight gain were these cravings that were sapping her spiritual energy, like her enthusiasm for life. So not only was she under the weight of a disease that she had to manage moment to moment, she was also under the weight of extra body weight. So physically and emotionally weighs you down. Maybe you can understand that. But then also the cravings that start psychologically making you feel like you're the problem. And it could lead to things like shame, self-blame, self-loathing. How do you unravel these? How does a mother help their child when they're just eating very simple, organic, real meals, and yet they can't stop eating? If you share the fact that you have a food craving with someone who's never experienced, you won't get understanding or empathy. They haven't felt it. You're in like company. We have felt it. And that's basically, in a nutshell, the story of Aaron. We understand cravings now. We have strategies to never have those cravings again. And if they come up, we know exactly how to unravel them. But let's move forward. Food focus. Let's talk about cravings now. Let's get into it. Okay? Just good to understand where your teacher's coming from so you know if you can trust me or not. Okay? Just think about the word cravings. Now, on your piece of paper that you have there, hopefully in front of you, I want you to write down any word that comes to your mind that can describe what it feels like to be in the grip of a craving, right? Be in the grip of a craving. You think of any? When we had this during our live interaction, these are the words that have come out. Someone had said, it is constant. Constant, that's hard. Think about if you've ever had a headache, or you've had knee surgery, or you've had a child who is hurting and it's constant. That's a hard thing to handle, isn't it? Someone used this word. There's no reasoning. You can't reason, talk, psychology your way out of it. There's just no reasoning with it. It's incessant and it's demanding. They say once that craving's rolling, it can't be stopped. I just can't stop that freight train. It is almost yelling at me. And oftentimes when I give into it, it becomes perpetual. Meaning, it just goes on and on. See, some of these they cross-reference, don't they? Constant, perpetual, same thing. For my daughter, she said it felt like this. Once she gave into a craving, it opened the floodgates. Meaning, now she's not going to be able to stop. Won't be able to stop. Have you ever felt like that? Someone just said jokingly, get out of my way. I'm heading for the pantry door. Just try to stop me. Those intrusive food thoughts that I called food demons. Food demons. This is the degree of cravings that I'm talking about, that we had to deal with. They were demons. They weren't just like distractors or I can push through it. No, these were must eat now. Must. That's what those food demons felt like. I think I just sound like a southerner there. Felt like. Have you ever felt any of those? If you have, you're in the right place. You're in good company. We understand. We empathize. And then we also strategize to get you out of that. So this is what I love. When you look up the word craving in the dictionary, this is what it says. Intense, prolonged desire. Intense, prolonged desire. We have a desire to eat certain kinds of food because our body is wired. And we learned this in another episode. Our brain is wired to avoid pain, to seek pleasure. That's a self-preservation mechanism, okay? So craving is an intense, prolonged desire, a yearning. Isn't that interesting? Yearning, to me, is more spiritual. There's something missing. I'm incomplete. I'm not whole. I need to finish something. And it also means a strong longing. So I hear the word intense. I hear the word strong, desire. These are big, big feelings and big emotions, right? Well, let's take a look at a week, just a week of an individual who is struggling through cravings. Because whether it's thinking about just cravings or you're looking to try to drop weight, we cannot get out of a weight woe crisis if cravings are unraveling us, right? So you probably understand this feeling. Let's go through this. I'm going to write the word cravings up here again. I think I'm up too high. I keep doing this. Let me come down a little bit lower. Okay. Because cravings, if we didn't have cravings, we wouldn't even have to eat, right? And I know cravings are different from hunger. We understand that. But I remember my daughter was said to me one time with tears, I wish I never had to eat again. And I wished I never had to eat again because I was so tired and weary and sad and frustrated and inadequate and angry watching her slip further and further and further away of who she was. We have her back. But at that point, we not only did not have her back, I thought we were going to lose her. Because she said life wasn't worth being here for. If food is going to control me with these damn cravings, I don't want any parts of it. So here we go. I call cravings and this endless, are you writing this down? Endless cycle of pain and suffering. And I don't joke, I don't say that with jest. That really is pain and suffering. Emotional pain, physical suffering as we try to deny ourselves, right? Okay, I hope I'm being neat enough here. I hope we're being neat enough here. Let me just put a line here so we can visually separate some of this information out. Okay, so let's talk about Monday, because usually when we're in some kind of weight woe, cravings crisis, we kind of, we're exhausted in the moment, but we also know we have to get through the week. We have to go to work, we have to go to school, we have to be a parent, whatever it is, right? So on Monday, we have this resolve and we are going to fight. Fight those cravings, fight those sensations that are telling us to eat, okay? And we progress through Tuesday, right? And usually by Wednesday is we do this. Even if we give in just a little bit, we give in, right? This is Tuesday. And this is Wednesday, middle of the week, hump day. We tend to give in by Wednesday. This day is the day most people get to the gym, if they're gym people. Okay, Monday's resolve, Tuesday's usually action. Wednesday, we start to wane. Not so much given all the way yet, but we just start to like, nah. And we also psychologically damage ourselves because we did our workout on Tuesday. We were strong on Monday. So now by Wednesday, we're getting a little tired of this whole thing, right? So it wanes on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I should have put wane here. Let's do that. Let me do this. We wane. Is that an action? Any teachers out there, is that an action to wane? Okay, we fight, we wane. Thursday is like when we give in, right? So by Friday, here we are, that's the give in, right? Completely give in. And what happens when we give in? The floodgates are open. When the floodgates are open and we can't stop eating, what's the emotional result? Okay, what's the emotional result? It's like self-loathing. It's the blame, shame game, right? We start beating ourselves up. But it's Friday. So what do I do for that? Remember, the human brain is geared to avoid pain, seek pleasure. So I'm going to use resignation and reasoning to buffer my feelings. And so on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we just kind of stop fighting. We give in and we just enjoy. So you know what? I've tried all week. It doesn't work. I think I'm just meant to be this way. Resignation. You know, maybe it's not my lot in life to be the slim person I was hoping I could be again. Maybe this is my fate. So we reason our way through it and we enjoy the weekend and then we try to gear up again and begin fighting on Monday. And I call that the endless cycle of pain and suffering. Did any of that speak to you? If you are grappling with cravings, my guess is that some part of that made some sense. It's interesting too, because one of my shifters, Peggy Ann, she's the one who said that every Monday I was resolved to do it. And Tuesday I'd still be kind of doing it. By Wednesday I'm starting to fall off the wagon. And then by Friday I was just like, whatever. And so I enjoyed the weekend and said, I'm not gonna beat myself up, I'm gonna enjoy the weekend. So it was from her, someone who actually shifted out of crisis. She's dropped 55 pounds so far. And it's not so much as she dropped 55 pounds, although that's awesome. It's that she's just not hungry or craving those foods. She has energy, and she knows she's going to drop 25 more. That's where you win, right? And she's going to keep it off because she knows how to do it, because it's now a different way of living. So let's take a look again at those cravings one more time, okay? We know that being in a situation where we are craving, that we are in struggle, right? And when we are in struggle, so we're struggling not to give in to the cravings, right? Don't give in, don't give in. So we are trying to do what? We're trying to be strong. What else would you write down there? When you're struggling, what are some of the things that you tell yourself on that Monday? Be strong. You know, don't give in, don't cave, right? Same thing as saying be strong. Someone's like, it's like hold your defenses, hold, right? Hold, come on, be strong. And basically what you're doing the entire time is what? You're in fight mode. That implies exhaustion and weariness. Do you agree? So when we're exhausted with the struggle, we're exhausted with the fight, we're exhausted by the weariness, what do? That's what sometimes we experience this daily. Maybe it doesn't have to do with food. It could be do it with job or parenting or taking care of someone, you know, taking care of a parent, those of us in our middle years, right? When we're so tired of struggling, we just give in and surrender. And it's understandable. Willpower is a finite resource. You have to keep filling it back up again. And why do we surrender? Because we are weakened. We are empty of resolve and energy to push off that craving. And we do give up. And sometimes we talk ourselves out of that, saying, well, you know, it's good for me. I'm owning it. I'm giving up. I'm accepting it. Doesn't have to be. We break is another word to use to say when we surrender. And my favorite, we fall off the bandwagon. I've fallen off the bandwagon. The interesting thing is, when it comes to cravings, it's all struggle and surrender, struggle and surrender, struggle and surrender, struggle and surrender, right? And both avenues are what? Lousy ways to live a life. Both ways with cravings ends up being about suffering. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Yay! Okay. Let's get to the better part. Right? Now we understand this a little bit, or at least have some clarity or some light shed on it. So the secret, number one, and we talked about secret in our other episode. Remember, secrets are nothing new. It's something that was just invented or just dropped out of the heavens. It's just information that's kind of been not obvious. It hasn't been uncovered. It's kind of hidden from sight. And that's what the shift is all about. Uncovering those and then knowing them and wielding them and ending that suffering. Okay? So secret number one is that cravings are not about you. It's not about willpower. It's not about holding and fighting and giving up or not giving up. It's not about the thoughts that you're thinking. Well, you're thinking thoughts that are making you eat. Oh my gosh, no. Now, that's not to say that brain chemistry like dopamine and endorphins don't support giving in to cravings. I'm not saying that. But they're driven by far more. Cravings are driven far more than about thoughts. In fact, I use this in the other episode. They're not about you. Cravings are really about sabotage. Again, You are being sabotaged. Why? Because if you have a craving, this is an absolute truth. If you are sabotaged by cravings, you are right now, you are in sugar burning mode. You are a sugar burner. And let's understand this. Every human is a sugar burner. But some humans are not always a sugar burner. There's another fuel that we can be burning, and those who are enjoying chronic health, who are enjoying long-lasting change in the form of weight loss, they understand there's a whole other fuel they could be accessing, but they keep locking themselves in sugar burner mode. So here we are, sabotaged. Here I am, stick figure, right? How am I sabotaged? Remember we talked about our thoughts? Well, our brain chemistry will lock us into sugar burner. Our brain here is one wall. Our emotions here is the other supporting wall, okay? We know from the last episode that dopamine is that sugar rush. We see it in children around the holidays. They get their hands on all these sweets. They go running around the room, right? Especially little. I remember my son Charlie. Oh my gosh, one time he bit the head off a chocolate Easter bunny and we couldn't catch him. You know, that is called an energy, that's energy rush, but it's also this dopamine, okay? It's a great little whoop. I love that, right? It's a fix. And then you also have endorphins, which influence our feel-good. You know, if someone has a comfort food that is involving sugar, that's where comfort food comes from. It's about the endorphins that are released, okay? But those are both emotional brain things. Both of these support or hold up or add to what is the biggest saboteur for us who are in craving crisis. And it's our body's component. It's our insulin. We talked about that before in our other talk. That is the crux, the catalyst of your cravings. Okay? That is it. Remember my daughter with type 1 diabetes. I kept looking at her, my son, my other daughter, my husband and I. We were all eating the same things at a dinner one night. The only thing I kept thinking, okay, what is different? Why? You know, I had people on the outside telling me, well, maybe she's supposed to be this weight. I have cravings too. I know what it feels like. She's just going to have to get used to it. She's just going to have to fight it. Are you making it harder than it has to be? So I had all these bombardment of ideas. And I sat there and I thought to myself, the only thing different about her and everybody else in the family here at this moment is that she's injecting insulin into her body. Now, sure, she has to measure and weigh and understand how many carbohydrates she's taken and match it to the insulin. I get that. But those of us in the type 1 diabetes community, we know that math is an absolute, but diabetes math, insulin matching carbohydrate math, is more of an art. It's not an absolute. There's a 20% margin of error just built into every time you calculate it. And that's when I started digging into the science of insulin. So let's dig into the science of insulin, because that is what's sabotaging you and creating those incessant cravings. Okay? I like to say this. Your cravings, everybody, are they're chemistry. It's a science lab moment. Hey to all my 8th graders out there. Science lab moment. Cravings are chemistry. Okay? Let's see what that means. That means at the dinner table when we eat food, digestion happens. Food is broken down into glucose. Glucose is the sciencey word. It's a real thing. Glucose is a science word for blood sugar. Yes, we all have glucose. We all have blood sugar. And every single one of us will have a rise in blood sugar when we eat food becomes glucose. Glucose becomes blood sugar, so therefore our amount of sugar in our blood rises. Okay? As blood sugar rises, that hormone, that mighty hormone, which was the only variable that was different between my daughter Erin and her brother and sister, insulin level in our body rises also in proportion to how much this blood sugar went up. Food, glucose, glucose, blood sugar rise. How much blood sugar rises, insulin will also rise. Because insulin unlocks the cells, basically, in our body and allows this blood sugar entrance into the cells to be used for energy. So you see why insulin will be produced by the pancreas and released into the bloodstream in the exact proportion amount to how much our blood sugar rose. That's what insulin's all about. So once insulin goes up, what do you think happens to blood sugar, meaning the sugar in our blood? The BS, the blood sugar, will drop. That's a good thing. That's why the world, the street name, the street idea of insulin is that it's the blood sugar regulating hormone. That's what all the medical teams told me when our daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Insulin, blood sugar regulating hormone. She's got to take insulin to regulate the amount of blood sugar in her body. So when blood sugar lowers, this action right here, blood sugar lowering, is what produces our cravings. Anytime blood sugar, doesn't matter what the number is, how high, how low, medium, wavy, walkie-talkie, slowly pepper, doesn't matter. Anytime blood sugar rises and then subsequently drops because insulin makes sure it gets it out of our bloodstream into the cells, that's what triggers a trigger of cravings. Because we are relying on this as our fuel source. We are a sugar burner, predominantly a sugar burner. We have trained our bodies for many, many years to be relying on glucose to fuel our day. So it's a blood sugar drop, which happened because of insulin, okay, that causes those cravings to be triggered. We are in sugar burner cycle of insanity because we have trained our bodies to rely on glucose, sugar, for fuel. So anytime you see the word glucose, that means sugar. Blood sugar. It's all the same thing. Okay? So again, what I found out when I was trying to help my daughter, I was locked into this mode. Barb, your daughter's insulin that she has to inject into her body, whereas her brother Charlie and her sister Grace, they don't have to worry about it. The insulin is produced by their pancreas. There's no worries. Okay? Whereas Erin, she had to worry. She had to put a lot of thought into eating and dosing insulin. But we were locked into this, that insulin, and believe me, insulin is a good thing. Insulin is a non-negotiable, life-sustaining hormone. In fact, if we didn't have insulin, we would die. So type 1 diabetics, before the discovery of synthetic or other kinds of insulin, they died pretty quickly too. So insulin, the injection of insulin, keeps type 1 diabetics alive. Sorry about that little dog barking. So insulin, we know, is this blood sugar regulator. Very good thing. That keeps us living. But you know what we didn't know? Because we really weren't told. And what I went digging for and what will help you with your cravings, like it helped my daughter with her cravings, is that insulin is also a fat creation, fat storage hormone. Okay? That was the moment of this is what causes your cravings. That your blood sugar rises, Insulin regulates it by bringing down. When it comes down, that fall in blood sugar causes cravings to start again. And this part of it is why you're stuck in weight woe, which was our other talk. Fat creation and fat storage. When insulin levels are up, you are creating new fat from your fuel, and worse, I think, your fat that you're carrying around in your body is locked down. When insulin levels are high, you cannot access body fat for fuel. So if you're exercising and exercising to get out of a chronic weight situation, you might, and more often than not, most people are, it's just literally a treadmill. You won't be able to lose the weight unless insulin levels are down while you're exercising. Okay? So, insulin, Barb. I hear you talking about insulin. I know it's a hormone. It's a blood sugar regulating hormone. It's a fat storage hormone. Okay, I know that now. But I don't think insulin has very much to do with me. How do I even know about insulin's presence in my body? Well, here's a little exercise I like to do. I call this the insulin belt, okay? An insulin belt. So just imagine an individual, and I'm gonna be a little bit more like a snowman here, okay? More like a snowman. Where on this person's body, hey there, he's not sure, I'll make him a little like that. Where on this person's body represents the role that insulin's playing inside his body? Meaning, how do I know that insulin might be a problem for me? Well, right around our middle is what I call our insulin belt. Because when insulin levels are up, we will take food and turn it primarily into visceral or belly fat. So, any weight we have carrying around our middle is thanks to insulin. But before that, it's thanks to the food we ate that raised our blood sugar, that made insulin do its job. And its job was to get rid of that blood sugar, turn it into fat, and put it around your belly. That's where we carry the weight. Think about primally, as we're wired that way for survival. We're not going to carry it on our ankles. We're not going to carry it on our wrists. We're not going to carry it on the top of our head. Right in the center of our body, center of gravity. All you athletes understand that. So that's an exercise you can do for yourself. What is your insulin belt like? Okay, and we can get into the science of this in another episode, but insulin actually triggers some other things like the corruption and corrosion of delicate blood vessels that lead to heart disease, accelerated aging, Alzheimer's. It fuels inflammation with alopecia and fibromyalgia. So that gets a little bit deeper. But just basically, our waistline is our insulin, I guess you would say, how do I explain that? Understanding where, how much of a role insulin is playing in our health life is represented by our waistline. Okay, so that's your insulin belt exercise. So, how do we understand insulin and shift things so we're never involved with cravings anymore? Our weight woe is a thing of the past. Well, remember we just said that if you have cravings, you are a sugar burner. There's just no way around it. You are in a sugar burning mode. Your body is preferentially using glucose for fuel. And see, our bodies are designed, again, we're always saying, seek pleasure, avoid pain, conserve energy. So the body will always do the least amount of work possible. And it's far quicker and easier to be a sugar burner, although it's not good for us because we end up carrying a lot of it and storing it on our bodies, than it is to be a fat burner. It's a much more quicker thing, much more quicker thing. So sugar burning is much more efficient. However, the inefficiency of using an alternative fuel serves us and allows us to what we call dine in, use our body fat for fuel. Yes, please, I want some of that, right? So, by the foods that we choose, we can actually become this kind of a, oh gosh, my thing is starting to, we can become this. We can become what we call, oh my golly, I'm running out of ink here, running out of ink. Let's see. Maybe it's just messy there. we can become fat adapted. Fat adapted. Think about that. Our body becomes adapted to using fat for fuel rather than glucose, rather than sugar. And we talk about sugar. Most people think of it as sweets and flour, your cupcakes, your breads, your desserty kind of foods. But it's real. That just falls into the category of carbohydrates. It's all carbohydrates. And we understand not to label foods as good or bad, right or wrong. Those labels are interpretations, they're biases, and they don't serve to help us get out of our insanity. So when we become fat adapted, we shift the kinds of food we're eating. We never say give up flour and give up sugar and willpower your way through sacrifice and suffering. Alternative things to eat that are really delicious and they satisfy us, they make us full. Some of the best moments I've had are when shifters will call me or text me or send me an email and say, Barb, by the end of the day, I didn't want those foods that had been unraveling me. This is what happened to our daughter. And this is how we live our life now, cravings-free. But we end up become fat adapted in our body and our brain. So our body becomes used to be, there we go, talk about live performance here. So our body and our brain becomes adapted to using fat, utilizing fat for fuel. And when we do that, we're out of cravings, we're out of crisis. We end up shedding our weight because we're actually using it to fuel our day. I call it being fab, F. Oh gosh. I'm not feeling very fab right now. There we go. F-A-B. We're relying on fat for fuel. So let's end this cravings talk here and see what shift is really all about and see if it's something you might be interested in. Hope my pen works for me here. So the program here at Shift is not about sacrifice. I'm up too high. I'm up too high. It's not about sacrifice, right? It's not about suffering. It's about knowing and then shifting your food choices and then winning. Really what it comes down to. We teach science. We dispel all the hype out there, all those periodicals, magazines, news articles, all the overwhelm. We get rid of that. We talk about the science of insulin, okay? Understanding how insulin is playing a huge role, actually the underlying star player in our cravings and in our weight woe crisis. We also understand the liberating, freeing of using fat in our diet, and how to use the fat in our body to fuel our day. Weight loss becomes, I can't use the word effortless because you are thinking and you are changing the way you're eating, but you don't have to exercise and you still drop weight because you're going to be using it to fuel your day. And then you are literally transformed. You are triumphant, okay? And that whole transformation also is a process. We have shifters who've been shifting 18 months and they're still shifting because once you begin it, you don't want to stop. It's just a different way of living and eating, okay? So basically, the first thing you get when you sign up for our Shift program, which I love, is that you're going to get a strategy, okay? And that strategy is a step-by-step blueprint, strategy. Okay, 21 days of video coaching with me, and I give you some science and step-by-step actions every day to take. So you're going to experience results immediately and daily, okay? They're sequential, they're purposeful, and instead of dumping it all on you at once, which is overwhelming, it's just given out little by little. It's like coming to class. It's coming to a course with me. And by the end of the 21 days, you're lighter, you're calmer, you know what you're doing, and then you keep going, okay? So that's the first thing you get is that strategy in the form of video coaching for 21 days with me. The second thing you get is what I love, a little help from my friends. Once a week, we do live interactive coaching. You can ask me questions. I will answer them. Even better, you'll hear other people ask questions and I'll answer them. And you can learn and glean information from hearing me coach others. Those are all recorded. You don't have to come to them. You can come to them. And so you can either interact on them, simply observe if you're an introvert like I am, or the third one, you can just replay it at your convenience and just listen to them, okay? The next thing you get is, this is my favorite part, this is the integration piece. And this is what creates what I call certainty. Certainty that you will change and that your change will be long-lasting and those cravings will be gone for good and you're going to know how to handle them. Because the integration part is every month you're going to get a box from me and it's a workbook. So you're going to read, you're going to think, you're going to write down answers. You're going to be involved in a transformation, not just of your metabolism, shifting from sugar burner to fat burner, but also in your mind. We're going to shift mindset and metabolism. We're going to shift body and brain. It's great. It's great. So every month you're going to get a box from me with some interactive work to do. For the F, you're going to get what I call fun. Okay, to me, a fun activity has to hit 2 criteria. First of all, it's got to be functional, kind of easy to implement and valuable, serves me on my journey. And it's got to be a little fascinating. It's got to be new and novel, a little bit of like, little spark, right? So you're going to have access to my streamlined exercise videos. We have a lot of fun. You're going to have access to my, what I call sanity restoring mind-body sessions. And you're also going to have access to what I call end decision fatigue meal plans, kitchen strategies, strategies for shifting your favorite foods, how to shift your chocolate chip cookies, how to shift your birthday cake, how to shift your pizza. Yeah, we eat all those foods. We just shift them, okay? So you'll have access to all of that, the fun. And the last thing you get, which might be even the most important, you know, every human being is wired to survive. And that sabotage we talk about can work against us unless we understand it, then it works for us. But another thing that all humans have is a longing to belong. The word long is right in the word belong. Inherently, we are wired to be social creatures. We need our tribe. Okay? We need to belong to a group that can empathize, support, camaraderie. Have you ever tried to share your cravings with someone who's never experienced them? That's what my daughter was going through. She was faking her way through lots of social situations because she knew no one would understand. And the world can be a harsh judge, and we can be a harsh judge of ourselves too, right? So you're going to be part of a tribe of not so much we're like-minded, but we're all coming to shift for our own personal reason, but we're also using shift to solve our personal crises. And it's a judgment-free zone. It's a Facebook community. Did I even say that? It's a private Facebook page. I'm involved. People ask questions. They share experiences. If they have a troubleshooting that needs to be done, an obstacle to overcome, a situation that's unraveled them, we support one another in there. Okay? So that's what shift is all about. It's a strategy, it's help, it's integration, it's fun, and it's tribe. So for today, the 3 secrets, remember secrets aren't anything new, they're just things we hadn't figured out yet, about your cravings. 1, you didn't cause them, and it's not your fault. Sorry. When I could finally have my daughter understand that, we began to pull her back out of that pit she had fallen into because she was doing a lot of self-loathing. Who wouldn't, right? The first thing you know is it's not you. The second thing you need to know is it kind of is you, meaning the human body is sabotaged to actually support cravings, right? And we know that, sure, the brain with the dopamine and the emotions with the endorphins are one thing, but it's that insulin on the top. It's the insulin that's driving your cravings. Okay? And the third thing is you can shift out of cravings once and for all. There is a path. We have cleared it, and we know how to get there. Sorry. As you can see, it's an emotional journey, and I'm so thrilled that my daughter's crisis became our passion, And now she and I are sharing that science, and we have helped so many others. And they in turn are helping others. And these ripples just spread. And we'd love to have you a part of it. So you know what I'm going to say? To your shift, and I'll see you inside. Thanks for spending your day with me.